On a distant summer's day, a girl playing in a sandpit discovers an egg. Holding it firmly in her hand, she examines it carefully, but as someone approaches, she quickly hides it. She then wakes up and realizes this was simply a dream, but surprisingly, that very same egg is lying on her bed. After taking in the situation, she comes to the natural, dare I say, only possible conclusion. While she was busy sleeping last night, she must have laid an egg. This girl is of course none other than Revolutionary Girl Utena's Nanami, a bratty, overdramatic, entitled, spoiled, snobby, stuck-up, yet absolutely hilarious, deeply insecure, and just plain relatable character who just so happens to have miraculously laid an egg. Nanami's egg is the 27th episode of the show and has unspeakable appeal, a hilarious, absurdist situational comedic backbone wrapped in symbolism, abstraction, and allegory, conveying universally relatable experiences told through the perspective of the scene-stealing, over-the-top, brilliantly voiced, unequivocally fantabulous Nanami. So Nanami wakes up having laid an egg, and what follows is a multi-part saga of various stages of her grappling with the unfortunate situation that was forced upon her. Naturally, her first reaction is panic. The fact that she laid an egg means that there's only one possible conclusion that every classmate, friend, family member, and person around the world will come to: that she's a freaky space alien. But after speaking to Mickey and learning it's not actually unheard of for mammals to lay eggs, Nanami comes to the next natural conclusion: everyone must lay eggs, and because of how long it took her to lay her first egg, all of her friends are going to think she's a space alien. These opening parts of the episode portray a girl who sees herself as different from everyone else due to something that her body produced by no will of her own. The egg at this stage in the story, clearly a metaphor for menstruation for girls, or puberty and just adolescence in general for everyone else. The also relatable feeling of not knowing whether a strange new experience you have is unique to you, which makes you weirdly insecure about it, or an experience that everyone else except you has already had, which makes you weirdly insecure about it. But who cares about metaphors and symbols? Obviously the entire appeal of this opening act is just Nanami herself. The way she screams, her over-the-top freakouts where she imagines cartoonishly cruel friends making fun of her, and imagines herself caged next to other egg-laying creatures, crawling on the floor when talking to Mickey, turning red with anger at Utena's touch. Nanami is absurdly entertaining to watch. But back to the plot. After running away from her friends, shouting internally at the entire world for daring not to tell her that everyone lays eggs, she runs into Juri. The two of them have a conversation about eggs, Juri just casually admitting to having laid countless eggs since age 7, or at least that's Nanami's reading of their conversation, where she believes Juri's purse to be an overly large egg. But alas, Juri is mature and elegant and everything that Nanami wants to be, and so her feelings concerning her egg pivot entirely. Laying an egg, whether at all or too late, isn't something to be ashamed of, but rather a mark of sophistication, elegance, and maturity. Cue a montage where Nanami starts singing to her egg, talking to it, polishing it, bathing with it, sleeping with it, and just generally caring for it like her own child. The egg becomes less of a biological puzzle freaking out a kid going through adolescence, and more of a prop for a child's fantasy about adulthood and parenthood. From Nanami's newfound perspective, for a woman to carry an egg is for her to have something she can cradle, care for, and most important of all, be praised for. The symbol transforms from menstruation to pregnancy and motherhood. But like I said, this isn't just a short story, but a saga of many parts, and I'm sorry to tell you, but Nanami's joy doesn't last. After a brief cutaway to Utena wondering why Nanami is acting so strange lately, and Anthy pointing out that her pet hen, coincidentally also named Nanami, acted the same way as girl Nanami when it laid an egg, we cut to girl Nanami sitting at a grand dining table singing to her egg. As her brother Toga walks in, she asks him whether he would prefer a boy or a girl, and Toga firmly states that he would prefer a girl, to which Nanami wholeheartedly agrees. And this revelation about Nanami sets Toga off on a monologue about how God created men and women because they join in the best sort of way, and that no matter how good something may feel, going against God's plan is wrong. Nanami, not fully grasping the magnitude of Toga's misunderstanding, gets mad at him for insinuating that she would love anyone else besides him, her borderline incestual obsession with her brother being so strongly entrenched in her desires that any other form of love, whether gay or not, isn't even a remote consideration in her mind. But after calming down, she asks him directly about what he would think about a girl who lays eggs, and what she gets in response is an absolutely hilarious subversion. Toga, sincerely, firmly, and with extreme conviction, stating that the only reason they have lived happily together up until this point is because Nanami is a girl who doesn't lay eggs. To Toga, to lay an egg is to dishonor your family through a shameful act. The egg starting out as a symbol for menstruation and puberty, transforming into pregnancy and motherhood thanks to Juri, and now acting as a symbol of promiscuity and teenage pregnancy. Laying an egg is no longer something to be proud of, something that gives you status as an elegant and mature person, but something to be ashamed of, something that took away your innocence and left you impure in the minds of those who look at you. And so, emotionally devastated, Nanami thinks deeply about what other girls must do with the eggs they lay, until she realizes the obvious grotesque answer. They must be eating them. But Nanami just can't bring herself to do it, so instead she tearfully abandons her egg, leaving it wrapped in a cloth under a tree like a symbolic mother too unwilling to abort her child, yet also unwilling to live with it due to the pressure of the people around her. After a restless night's sleep, replaying the conversation with her brother in her head, and trying her utmost to convince herself that she made the right choice in abandoning her egg, violently pushing down memories of the fun time they spent together, which may have only been 15 minutes of runtime but felt like an entire lifetime, Nanami falls into a state of absolute regret and runs back to rescue her egg. Despite an initial false alarm thanks to Saionji, mother and child finally reunite, and Nanami dances with glee under the starry moonlight and promises to never let her egg go again. And thus, Nanami's journey with her egg across this episode was an incredible saga, with Nanami's mindset and the egg's symbolic meaning shifting throughout. But if one thing is made clear by this episode, it's that Nanami is a person who defines herself by the reception that she receives from the people around her. She is deeply insecure and needs external validation. She needs the validation of her peers, the validation of society, the validation of elegant and mature people like Juri, and the validation of those she wants to love her, like her brother Toga. But in the end, the happiest she is when she's dancing with her egg alone under the starry sky, having abandoned any care for society's judgment of her, and just simply dancing. The 27th episode of Revolutionary Girl Utena leaving us with a clear, simple message. When you lay an egg, worry not of what others will think of it or think of you, but focus on what you yourself are thinking and feeling, and take the course of action that will make you the happiest and most fulfilled. In whole, Nanami's egg-centric journey is a metaphor for self-actualized maturation. Starting out as a child, constantly worried about new experiences and the way people across society see you, to becoming an adult who defines oneself without an audience, without a rubric, and without any praise. A person who knows who they are when the gaze of everyone else is absent. Or at least that's what it feels like the episode is trying to tell you, until we cut back to Nanami and her egg has grown into the size of a building, hatches into a space alien, zapping and abandoning her, and then Nanami wakes up from her space alien dream to find her real egg-sized egg has finally hatched and she missed it, with the hatched baby nowhere to be found. So what are we left to think? I have absolutely no idea. Is it a lesson on how self-definition can mutate you beyond recognition? Or that even when you attempt to exist without caring about the judgment of others, you can't fully escape the world's chaos? Is the episode telling us to firmly define yourself but expect the ground to move? Or was there no point at all and it was just a funny prank by Anthe who planted Chuchu's reincarnation egg on Nanami to mess with her? Who knows? And honestly, who cares? In reality, the entire appeal of the episode is Nanami herself. Her over-the-top melodramatic reactions to things, just the absurdest elements to her character, like the fact that she assumed she must have laid an egg because there was one on her bed when she woke up. Even just small scenes I didn't even mention, like her getting mad at her assistant for saying he'd do anything for her when he obviously wouldn't be able to run 300 kilometers per hour or fly at Mach 5 or dive 10,000 meters below the ocean for her. And finally, I know this will only appeal to a certain subset of the Utena audience, but I can't possibly begin to overstate just how amazing Nanami's dubbed voice is. It's so amazingly unique, and in my mind it will forever be associated with Nanami. But that's Nanami's Egg, an intense saga full of emotions and the human experience laid bare. Not just the best episode of Revolutionary Girl Utena, but one of the greatest television episodes of all time.